Good evening or afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Adrian's Weather Forecast, and this is going to be an update or overall forecast on the upcoming chance for a large snowstorm to unfold within the next 48 hours across the southwest Rockies and as well for a portion of the central and as well upper Midwest for the United States. So looking for an overall very widespread snowstorm to unfold later this week as well. Windstorm watches have already been issued by the National Weather Service as well, looking at for some very widespread and heavy snow, and this does have a really good chance to become Winter Storm Atticus, our first named storm for the winter season. But if you are new to the channel, I would recommend you guys subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 6,190 subscribers, so if you're new, smash that like button and as well subscribe button, and if you've not already done so, smash that bell icon so you can get notified as soon as I make a video. But without further ado, let's get in the forecast. So here's a look now at the overall look at the National Weather Service. And for those who don't know, we're going to be transitioning in toward a really favorable positive P&A pattern for portions of the western United States. Going to start seeing some really strong troughing off the west coast, as we're going to be seeing as well some really strong ridging across the southeast, east, and overall much of the eastern United States in general. So the next few days are going to really favor western cold and western snow. Not now, but in the next few days and by later this week, which is when this storm is going to unfold, most likely by, I believe it's going to be Friday the 9th. Oh, actually today's 8th, so it'll actually be Thursday into Friday. So right now we do have already winter storm watches issued across these areas. So we have winter storm watches for portions of the Rockies in Utah and Colorado, and that's where this actual snow is going to begin. It's going to initially begin as practically mountain snow. We're going to be seeing a low pressure set in place across the southwest from the Four Corner states, and the snow is going to really mainly stay in the mountains. But as this front continues to push far to the east, this cold front and this Arctic blast, this low pressure, as it pushes northward, it's going to bring that snow with it. So now as well, we do have winter storm watches, including portions of northern Nebraska, eastern Wyoming, and far southwestern South Dakota. So in these areas, we are going to be watching out for some overall nasty weather conditions, wintry-wise, for the next 48 hours. Can start unfolding by later this week. This includes as well portions near Valentine, Nebraska, closer to North Platte. Definitely going to be looking at our first main storm of the year, our typical storms where they begin in the southwest and go to the Midwest. This is going to be our first traditional and really well-known pattern for this year. So definitely looking forward towards Winter Storm Atticus. At least there's confidence this will become Atticus. So let's go ahead and get looking at the latest NAM 12 kilometer, since the NAM 3 kilometer really isn't necessarily in range for this whole storm. So within really the next, I'd say 40 hours, this is the next 42 hours, so this is going to be Thursday morning, we are going to be seeing a low pressure kind of set in place. So we're going to be seeing a smaller low pressure set in place across Colorado. We're going to be seeing that really deep cold area start to develop across the western areas, west and the Rockies, really, in the Sierras. So as this cold air pushes further to the south, ahead of this obviously Arctic blast, we're going to be seeing all that moisture that we're currently seeing within these low pressures. We're going to be seeing mainly it staying as mountain snow, so that's where we have those watches in effect for western Colorado, as a portion there, this higher elevation than Utah, outside Salt Lake City. So it's going to kind of stay throughout Thursday, much of Thursday as mountain snow, still kind of across much of Utah, much of western Colorado, and as well initially now pushing further towards near southeastern Wyoming, near Cheyenne, and then pushing towards far western Nebraska. But it's still staying pretty much towards pretty isolated, not really super widespread, nor in any areas outside of any lower elevation or any urban areas. But as we now go towards the overnight hours, this cold there, as this low pressure starts to track it's going to really follow that polar vortex. So here's the kind of Arctic blast. You're going to be seeing a really strong trough dipping towards the far west. You're going to be seeing that really deep cold air, obviously, behind that cold front itself. So the cold front's going to be, at this point, going to be right here, that really strong cold front trough dipping at a really open wave trough. And basically this low pressure is going to basically follow that trough, so while the snow is going to be practically west or north of that low pressure. Now as this cold air continues to obviously get well below freezing, especially since it's going to be in the overnight hours. A lot of the snow is now going to become very widespread. So as this low pressure tracks further northward, that snow is going to stay there as well. So very heavy snow at this point by later Friday mid-morning, closer to noon across much of the central United States, and then eventually by now Friday evening, it's going to be an absolute monster storm. We're going to be seeing a lot more moisture, and eventually this low pressure will start to strengthen a lot more and steepen a lot. So we're going to be seeing some heavier precipitation to the areas northwest of that low pressure. So could see some really intense snow later Friday across the Midwest, including the Twin Cities, including Iowa. Could see some really good snow for as well Nebraska, southeast South Dakota, much of southern Minnesota, and then eventually getting towards the upper Great Lakes, towards Green Bay, towards the upper peninsula of Michigan. And if we go all the way, practically all the way to the very end at 84 hours, you can tell this is going to be now towards Saturday early morning. Going to be seeing now practically this cold front's going to be somewhere around here. So we're going to be seeing that warm air advection as well. Going to be seeing that warm conveyor belt still along the east. So going to be seeing a lot of rain and as well as severe weather across the Mississippi Valley, and they're going to be seeing that really intense snow to the northwest of that low pressure where that cold air is going to be, that cold conveyor belt, and going to be seeing snow all across Iowa, Wisconsin, upper peninsula of Michigan, and as well lower Minnesota. Unlike that storm we just saw not too long ago, a few days ago, three or 4 days ago, that really mainly only affected the upper Great Lakes. This is actually going to affect more urban areas, including the Twin Cities, closer towards maybe even Omaha, Lincoln. It's going to be a little bit further south. So since this low pressure is developing in the southwest, there is a greater likelihood that we see snow further south as well, instead of it acting like a clipper and just skinning the upper United States. So let's now look at the overall 18Z GFS. So here's the same thing by afternoon on Thursday. There's that low pressure. Like I said, the cold air is going to mainly stay to the west of that low pressure. It's going to be a rather weak low pressure, though. You can kind of see we're not going to be seeing too much nor disturbed weather in the actual low pressure itself. But we are going to be seeing a main front kind of stretching, or we're going to be seeing like a main actual cold front that's kind of aligned and connecting all of these low pressures to that one larger one towards Canada. But mountain snow pretty much for Cheyenne, western Colorado, staying outside of Denver and Aurora and Colorado Springs, and that snow is going to be really intense for Salt Lake City. Very intense snow for Logan National Park, Utah. Very heavy snow as well for lower Wyoming. And as we now go towards the early morning hours and Friday, this low pressure is going to start to strengthen as well as steepen. You see they're going to be seeing some stronger winds. We could as well see some really whiteout conditions, the nasty conditions across the higher elevation in Colorado, New Mexico, and as well eventually towards Wyoming on Friday morning. Going to be seeing some really intense winds. And then as we go towards Friday late morning, there's that really there you see that main moisture, obviously. Going to be seeing that main low pressure down here near Kansas, and they're going to be seeing that really deep cold air basically right on top of that snow. So going to be seeing some really intense cold air. And as we now go towards Friday afternoon and Friday evening, there's that low pressure. Cold front at this point is going to be around right here, stretching all across this general area, practically stretching all the way over here. So anything to the east is going to be really cold, chilly rain, and then very intense snow to the northwest of that low pressure. As this low pressure steepens, it is going to be getting stronger. We are going to be starting to see some overall really strong initiation. We are going to be seeing the most intense area of snowfall going to be the northwest of that low pressure. So the further south this low pressure goes, that kind of really would signify a lower dip in the Arctic blast, because obviously this would be following the main front. So the further south this low pressure goes, the better the chance we see some snow for more urban areas like Des Moines, Madison. But overall, latest 18Z GFS is having some really intense snow like the NAM 12 for portions of really northeastern Nebraska, southeastern South Dakota, northern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, southern Michigan, and then eventually by Friday night into Monday early morning or Saturday early morning, heavy snow going to stay towards the upper Great Lakes. There you see that really rainy weather along that cold front, and there you see that strong high pressure moving in place with that deep, dry air. It can be very dry condition, and that's going to move out by Saturday, And then last but not least, let's look at the European model. Very, very similar, except the European has it a little bit further southward, so the low pressure is going to be 993 millibars already Friday mid-afternoon, and this does going to be extremely widespread all the way from Wyoming towards Colorado. So this definitely does have very, very high chance or a high likelihood of becoming Winter Storm Atticus. And there's that low pressure at 992 millibars. Quickly makes its way towards Indiana. Very, very intense snow. All the way, basically, all on that western side of that low pressure, practically. So very intense snow for Upper Peninsula, Michigan, Upper Michigan in general, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. And then even getting it still on the backside. So on the backside, we're going to be seeing that low pressure kind of still staying across Michigan. So that colder is going to have a lot more time to catch up. So it's going to kind of really force this cold front to really push its far east. So on the backside, we're going to be seeing some pretty intense snow. So if it does lag like this, like the European, we could get a lot more snow for Madison, Chicago, even for the other side of Lake Michigan. Let's look at the overall snowfall accumulation on the NAM 12 kilometer, getting that really intense mountain snow between now and practically then towards the end of the week. This week we could probably get scatter areas of anywhere from 2 to around 4 to 2 to 3.5, possibly 4 feet. The highest snow totals are going to be towards western Colorado and as well portions towards north central Utah. Gonna be some scatter areas across New Mexico and Arizona that could get over a foot, but the main storm itself is gonna be branching off from all the way from central Colorado all the way towards the upper Great Lakes. And notice how the main area of snow is gonna be pretty much further southward compared to the last storm we saw across this area. So it's actually gonna be including the bullseye for southern Minnesota, not northern Minnesota. The bullseye is going to be southeastern South Dakota, not far northern South Dakota. It's going to be really a lot further south. So it's going to be a more higher chance of likelihood of being named. Consider it's going to affect a lot larger population, a lot larger radius. But as well as the overall snowfall totals, we could see a very small area that's going to be basically just northwest of that low pressure track is going to get the most intense snowfall. So the main area to watch is going to be the location of this track is going to be very important because that would basically decide who's going to get the bullseye. So we could be seeing probably a huge line all the way from northwest Lake Michigan all the way up towards the Rockies. That could see an area of over half a foot. So we could see areas in Nebraska that could get probably over a foot and a half. We could see some scatter areas across lower Minnesota, upper Iowa, far northeast Nebraska, and even as well upstate Wisconsin, eventually the upper Great Lakes, that could get over a foot. I mean, if we look at the overall Nebraska area, for example, we can be seeing some really, really intense snow because how overall intense this low pressure is going to be. So look at this, Nebraska could get probably 16 inches for the NAM 12 kilometer run. So definitely very, very interesting. We could definitely see a very intense storm with this. Here's the overall GFS 18Z. So pretty much similar, seeing that really intense mountain snow across the four corners and as well, including other areas like Montana and Wyoming. But the main areas going to be watched out is, like I said, western Colorado and upstate and north central Utah could see scatter areas of over 3 feet. And then here's the main storm. It's a little bit more widespread compared to the NAM 12 kilometer. I mean, here's the overall radius of this storm's coverage. Going to be seeing really intense snow, like the NAM 12 kilometer says. Very intense snow for areas across southeast Wyoming, far northwestern Nebraska. Probably get over a foot of snow. They already have a windstorm watch for that reasoning. And then, of course, it tracks further towards the northeast. So, obviously, the further you lay this track, the further south you are, the less likely you are to get snow. For example, if you are North Platte, you have a way better chance in the same areas that if you go in a straight line in DeKalb, Illinois, for example. But very, very overall high confidence for this extremely heavy snow. And then the GFS, as we saw in the 18Z, as we go towards Friday afternoon, this low pressure really starts to strengthen and as well steepen a lot. So that precipitation will also steepen a lot. So that snow rate is going to really dramatically change. That snow to rain mix is going to really change. That snow to precipitation rate is going to probably change. It's going to become really compact, heavy, wet snow. So it's going to lower in its ratio. And then we probably could get large areas of nearly over a foot, at least between those two models across the upper Midwest. So definitely a really good storm, possibly ahead for much of the Great Lakes, and as well even much of the overall Midwest United States, especially if you consider Nebraska the Midwest. And then let's look at the overall Canadian model. The Canadian model is also pretty similar. There you see that very intense mountain snow, scattered area of over 3 to 4 feet, and then here's the main radius. So you can kind of see the overall confidence. The CMC does take it a little further south, but here's that's not too bad. It's actually pretty similar as well. They have these very similar areas as well across the Midwest that get very similar totals. I mean, that's very similar. So that definitely is some pretty high confidence. So definitely watching out for a large area, kind of just leaving a scar across the Midwest. Just areas, if you're northwest of that low pressure, you're going to be seeing some really intense snowfall, almost guaranteed. So obviously, this low pressure is going to go all across the central United States into the Great Lakes. Anywhere northwest is going to get really intense snow. So it's going to kind of leave a scar of areas that can get probably over half a foot, if not any more than maybe over a foot and a half. So you're going to be watching out for those areas in northern Nebraska, all across, eventually towards lower Minnesota, upper Iowa, and then of course towards upper Wisconsin as well, upper Michigan. But there is a lot more opportunities in the last storm for the more urban areas like Madison, Milwaukee, Chicago, Des Moines. These areas do have I say better chance than the obviously any other storm so far this year. If we look at the European, it is, like I said, further southward. It is getting a lot more snow for even Kansas. Far northwestern Kansas is going to get nearly 4 inches, and they really don't get too much compared to the other models. So the European is, like I said, taking this low pressure for the south. Like I said previously in the video, the further south this low pressure is going to go, the further side the snow is going to really follow it. So definitely overall watching out for some really widespread snow. And this is definitely most likely going to become Winter Storm Atticus. I mean, if it drops a good 4.5 inches in Milwaukee, a good nearly 2 feet in Traverse City, a good half a foot near Twin Cities, it should definitely probably get named, especially since it's going to already carry over 400,000 miles and probably affect more than 2 million people. I mean, this is definitely looking like a really overall bullseye area to watch out for based on models. So as of now, if you're like between anywhere from basically eastern Wyoming all the way basically just if you just go track northeast from basically eastern Wyoming, this is going to be a very large area. So we could see a good 400 to 500, even 700 miles of just straight path of over a foot of snow. So this is definitely going to be a big travel concern and barrier towards travel itself, but definitely going to have more updates on this tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.